2026 is looking pretty stacked for sim fans, and it's not just your usual cozy management games where you're placing a chair, maybe a few plants and painting a wall beige. There is some genuinely interesting simulation games on the way here in 2026. A lot of them look ambitious, many of them look strange in a good way, and a few of this slightly dangerous energy where you can already tell they're going to eat up a lot of your time. My name is Tom and this is LT Gaming. We cover all types of games here, strategy games, sims, pretty much anything you can imagine. If it sounds like your thing, give the video a like, help us get out there on the algorithm, get subscribed, why not? And if you want to support the channel further, there are memberships available too. Right then, today we're looking at the top 8 upcoming simulation games in 2026 that you're going to want on your radar. Nivalis is one both Luke and I are properly high on. Now, Luke had a mild addiction to Cloudpunk, which is the predecessor to this game. He would just happily go around doing deliveries, asking no questions and soaking up the vibe. So seeing this kind of world expanded into something much bigger has had our attention. And this one does look ambitious. You're not just wandering around pretty cyberpunk city here, you're building a life in it. Running food stalls, bars, restaurants, clubs, decorating your apartment, buying or growing ingredients, meeting people, and just trying to make something of yourself in this vertical neon sprawl. And this is why it stands out. It's not looking gimmicky in any way, it's looking like a good blend of life sim, management game, and just atmosphere heavy world building. We've talked about it a few times on the channel before, there's always been a lot of interest, so we're very curious to see how it turns out. It's down for 2026 release, so it does look likely for this year. Project Shadowglass is one that has instantly caught my eye because I loved the old Thief games back in the day, and this feels like it might be chasing some of that same sort of magic. It seems to be chasing this sim sense of sneaking through hostile spaces, trying to read the room, planning your route, and then trying to get in and out without the whole place exploding into chaos. They mention it's a love letter to the immersive stealth sims like Thief, Deus Ex and System Shock, which is a very confident and bold thing to say, but I love it. So you play a struggling thief taking on artifact heists across this dark fantasy kingdom, planning your jobs by day from a flat in the slums and then trying to carry them out by night. It is a really strong visual identity, which is this 3D pixel art, which when paired with this dark fantasy setting and the old school first person immersive sim structure will give the game its own flavour. It certainly looks distinct and unique to me. Very curious if you guys resonate with this one, and if you do, we'll feature it on the channel. PVKK next, or Planetenverteidigungskanonenkommandant? I don't know about that. Well, it's another one I looked at last year anyway, and I gotta be honest, it channels a very specific fantasy I apparently now fully have, which is running a gigantic planetary defense cannon from a bunker while everything goes a bit nuts outside. Not quite a childhood dream I knew I possessed, but here we are. The core setup is just exactly that. You operate this massive defense cannon for an autocratic regime, manually working the systems, scanning for vessels, calculating trajectories, managing power, and firing this thing properly rather than just clicking on the target and hoping for the best. That's what makes it stand out a bit. It's not just going for the spectacle, the appeal seems to be in the tactile side of it all. Buttons and dials, switches, generators, procedures. Half the fun looks like learning this strange retro tech war machine and getting it to actually work properly. Layer in everything else from bunker management, moral choices, political intrigue, and all these hidden secrets it apparently will have. I'm properly amped for this to release in Q3 this year. Road Kings is partly here because Luke loves American Truck Simulator, to the point that every now and then I do have to remind him that the steering wheel can be put down and we occasionally need some videos made for the channel. But when he flagged this one as a must include to me, I paid attention. And to be fair, it looks like it's going for a bit more than drive my lorry, admire a road and become one with traffic lights. The pitch is hauling cargo across the coastal plains of the American South, pretty atmospheric. However, what makes it stand out is it's leaning on both the driving sim side and the business progression side all at once. So managing your jobs, trailers, routes and reputation, as well as plenty of mechanics around vehicle weight, wear, brakes, torque, tires, transmissions, a bunch of things I have no idea about, but now I'm definitely going to end up learning about. So yeah, to sum it all up, I think Road Kings is very much one worth watching, but hopefully for the channel's sake I can keep Luke firmly away away from it. So before we jump into the back half of this list, if you are enjoying the video, do give it a like. It really helps push our stuff out there on the algorithm and find more gamers like you. If you do enjoy thoughtful strategy, sim and PC gaming coverage in general, feel free to subscribe as well. And if you want to support the channel a bit further, consider one of our memberships. You get access to stuff like our newsletter, just a few extra ways to back what Luke and I are building here at LT Gaming. Okay, enough of that, let's get back to it. Yeah, so there must be something in the air because we're not just getting one, but two games about manning industrial enormous grade turrets, and I'm not going to complain in the slightest. Iron Nest Heavy Turret Simulator is another one that's grabbed me because, again, it seems oddly committed to the idea that we're going to stand inside this colossal war machine, yank heavy levers, crank dials, and then ruin someone's day from several miles away. The pitch with this one is you're operating a 5,000 ton turret, working out fire solutions, monitoring radio traffic, managing the machinery itself, then carrying out battlefield orders from this huge diesel punk monstrosity. Now, where this differs from PVKK, it seems to be leaning much more into the actual process than just the act of doing it. So you're not pressing fire and watching an explosion happen. You're going to have to calibrate your teleprinters, whatever those are, interpret intelligence and use an interactive tactical map, all while calculating ballistics and adjusting propellant changes. Throw in on top a handcrafted story, procedurally generated objectives, challenge modes, and I think there's a lot to dig into here and something I'm weirdly up for. Now, Ahoy is another game that is no stranger to the channel, and for good reason. It's one of these ambitious Age of Sail projects that is in development right now, and it's very much aiming beyond the pirate game with cannons fantasy. It wants to actually tap into what it was like living aboard one of these ships in a much more first-person manner. So sailing, crewing, trading, fighting, and basically just building out your life in this 18th century Caribbean setting. It wants to also lean hard into historical authenticity, so proper seamanship, ships reconstructed from historical artifacts, blueprints and models, and an emphasis on the social side of ship life. Maybe you can even get scurvy, I don't know. I don't know how authentic they want to go with this. But we find it very interesting. Luke has covered this one before, and the appeal is very obvious, particularly for you war gamers and immersive sim fans alike. So keep an eye on this. I think something will come out on it in 2026, but the ambition and the sheer fantasy is absolutely on our radar. Starship Simulator is a game that is absolutely no stranger to the channel, and for very good reason. It's chasing one of these great sci-fi fantasies. Not just flying a starship, but actually living aboard one. Walking the decks, taking on a role, managing systems, watching the stars drift by, and basically living out that unofficial Star Trek dream without anyone having to say those words too loudly. What makes this one jump out to me is the hook isn't just space game with nice interiors, it's the idea that the ship is a place, a real place. Add into this fully simulated ship systems, role-based gameplay for positions like captain, pilot, engineer and the like, and then combine it with exploration, crew life, and just a starship routine into one big simulation. And this is why Luke and I keep circling back to it. The big caveat here is what we've talked about in our videos as well. That ambition here is absolutely massive. So it's very much keep on your radar, then lock in for 2026. But as this kind of dream project, it's one of the most interesting space sims in development. So definitely keep your eye on it. God Save Birmingham is the sort of game where I look at it and I think it sits somewhere between a survival RPG and a sim, and a pretty gloriously grim one at that. It has a very specific premise that I never expected a game to make me think about. Yes, that is wandering around 14th century Birmingham fighting zombies. I'm not quite sure how we ended up here, but I'm glad that we have. What is making it stand out is that a lot of survival games go for the usual modern day ruins and scavenging loop, but this thing is leaning into the historical setting in a way that makes it look very cool. You're foraging through markets, burridge plots, raiding smithies, looking for food, water and shelter, all while trying not to get torn apart by the undead. What I like here is they're not just using the medieval setting as a visual gimmick. The plan is to focus on the sandbox survival experience in the town, with a larger version coming later. So light campaign elements planned down the line, but it has this great attention to detail vibe when you read the devlogs and the material they're making. So yeah, one to keep an eye on. So yeah, I gotta say there's plenty to look forward to if you're into simulation games, and I think a lot of them doing something a bit more interesting than the usual formulas. For me personally, PVKK, despite me butchering the name, might be my favourite of the bunch. It's got that blend of storytelling, atmosphere, and just a hands-on gameplay that's gonna hit the mark. It feels weird, specific, and like it will be a memorable gameplay experience. Luke, meanwhile, is hyped for many of these. I think Nivalis is probably the one who's got the most excitement around, given his unhealthy relationship back with the original game, Cloudpunk. But I'm going to throw it over to you lot. What are you most interested in? Is there any here you want us to do a deeper dive on? And if there's any other upcoming sim games you think deserve coverage, let us know in the comments. And of course, if you think we've done a good job, do all the extra stuff that helps us out here at LT Gaming. Alright guys, that will be it for today. See you on the next one. Bye bye now.